Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing how big could Pokemon Regional Championships be this upcoming season. The first wave of Regional Championships registration has come, so we'll talk about that. We will talk about Pokemon TCG Pocket, Pokemon's new mobile trading card game, which will be demoing at the World Championships in just a couple of weekends. We're going to be taking a look at that, hopefully, at Worlds and give our feedback and opinion on it in a couple of weeks' time. We will, of course, have everyone's favorite segment, Guess That Flavor Text. And then we're going to wrap up this week by talking about Shrouded Fable and our early thoughts, our thoughts on the tournament results from the first few events that have happened this past few days. And of course, how those things are going to feed into the World Championships meta because Worlds is just around the corner. I mean, I guess when this episode is coming out, it'll be like 8 days away or something like that, which is pretty wild. And then, of course, we will have our bonus episode over on the Patreon. My name is Chip Ritchie, joined here as always by my friend and co-host Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing? You getting excited for Worlds? Right around the corner, man.
Yeah, doing good, Chip. Excited for Worlds. Excited to go to Hawaii. It's coming up fast. I've been having a ton of fun though with just like the new set, the new format. I actually like changed things up quite a bit more than I thought it would. But I feel like that's the way it's been like the last couple sets. To be honest, it's like I think I buy too much into the initial hype of like the first big thing, like Charizard Dusknoir was like the new hype deck that was doing super well in Japan and kind of seemed like it was taking over. But like the meta changes and evolves and new stuff is discovered. Reggie Drago really hadn't gotten its footing in general until like they got Stellar Miracle over there. And then it's like Reggie Drago really found its footing in the format. And then we got Shrouded Fables. And now it's like, now it's like the number one deck is like Reggie Drago, right? And
Yeah.
the format is revolving around Reggie Drago a little bit. Lugia and Raging Bolt are getting more popular, stuff like that. So
Yep.
I think I bought a little bit too much into like the initial hype of like Charizard. And I was kind of, well, Charizard's better, but does anything else really change? The answer is yeah, and things are still changing. So I've been having just a ton of fun playing Pokemon right now. In general, playing on PTCG Live, streaming, making content. So yeah, still excited for Worlds coming up. But yeah, that's been my main focus. And I guess I've like talked about this a little bit before on the podcast, I think before. And mentioning it again, I guess, but with like a follow up is yeah, I've stopped doing coaching. I did coaching for a couple of years now, 3 or 4 years. But kind of moving forward, no longer doing any kind of coaching moving forward. I am starting a Medify group that's pretty similar to like a Patreon style product, and I've been using that as a way to like connect with people and talk about competitive Pokemon deck lists and decks like that. Like I'm going to be posting all of my competitive lists over there. It's not going to alter any of my content on my stream or my YouTube channel. Like I'm not going to like hide deck lists or not test with decks on stream and then only put them over here on this Medify group. But all my decks that I consider to be competitive, I will put on this Medify group. And if anyone wants to talk about them, discuss them, ask me questions about techs and matchups and situations, inclusions, or possible tech cards that they think might be good. Maybe I've already thought about and they want to give my opinion on. That's what I'm going to use this group for, as just kind of a way for people to connect with me and talk to me about the Pokemon TCG in a more competitive way. I have like an open line of communication for that. And then also be like kind of just answering questions for like anything besides the lists that I'm going to be posting on this group. I'm also going to have like a continuous kind of like AMA section in here as well. So people can constantly just ask me questions about whatever Pokemon TCG related. So yeah, I'm excited to be doing that. Stepping away from the coaching. I like the little bit more freedom of my schedule, but this is something I can like, you know, throughout the day, once or twice a day, check in, reply to questions and comments, and just consistently just keep up with people with this, and it doesn't have to like lock me down for multiple hours at a time. So I'm excited to do something like this as opposed to coaching moving forward. I also plan to do like the Medify classes on Medify at some point as well, but I don't have any of those coming out anytime soon. But if you're interested in that from me, those will be happening at some point heading into the new season as well. Just need to get all that stuff figured out. But I'm excited for this for sure. So if you are interested in connecting with me in the more competitive side of the Pokemon TCG, definitely go check it out. And yeah, that's what my week has been like. A lot of Pokemon stuff. But you got some exciting news, Chip.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, the Pokemon just announced the casters for the World Championships, and yours truly will be among them. So, along with Azul and everyone else who's flying down to Worlds in just a few short days, I will be joining them this time at the casting desk, joined by a amazing cast of characters as well here for the Pokemon TCG side of things. Very much looking forward to it. Gonna be a blast. Never been to Hawaii before. Big thanks to Pokemon for asking me to come be a part of the event and yeah, bring a voice to the game. It's what I love doing. So I'm glad that I'm getting this opportunity and very much looking forward to it. Um, Let me see. Maybe we'll get to cast this guy doing really well at a tournament. We'll see.
Hopefully, I mean, back-to-back runs would be pretty nice, but we'll see.
We'll see indeed. But yeah, it's pretty hype, pretty exciting. And speaking of announcements, with the world championships coming up, we are going to be doing this episode. We will be talking about the world's meta a bit, looking at kind of what the early results look like from online tournaments, how the meta is maybe going to adjust moving into worlds, or how that may affect the world's meta if it does at all. But next week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have a Q&A where we're going to post over on our Twitter, on the Uncommon Energy Twitter account, for anyone who is competing at worlds, or really just I guess anyone at all. If you have any questions about the world's format specifically, tweet them at us, and then our next episode is going to be mostly looking at that, mostly talking about the world championships, really digging deep into the meta, our thoughts on all the different deck archetypes. We haven't talked super in depth. Maybe we'll do like a tier list or something like that we could do leading into worlds.
Yeah.
um but yeah, we'll figure all that out, and then we are also going to be releasing next week's episode on Monday. So we're going to be releasing it a couple of days earlier than normal, in part because we will be traveling later in the week, but also because most people who are playing in the World Championships, who the information that would be shared in that podcast episode is most relevant to, will also be traveling during the week. So releasing it on Monday hopefully gives people a chance to get to hear it before World starts on Friday, or before they get to traveling. And then once they're in Hawaii, if we're releasing it at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, most people are probably already going to be at Hawaii and are arriving that day, and might be having other things to do besides sit down and listen to a hour and a half long podcast, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So excited to get that out to y'all early. Another thing we're excited for is the return of the uncommon energy content is coming back.
Let's go.
We said this week, right? Not next week. This week.
This
This
week, yeah.
week. It'll be coming back this week. So I know a lot of people have been asking, and the answer has been the same thing. We're working on it. We're gonna get there eventually. A big change in our workflow as and I've mentioned this before. I don't know if we mentioned on the podcast. I've definitely mentioned on my stream, is we've got an editor we're working with now to be able to get this content out to y'all more consistently. A lot of you really like the content. The content did really well
It
as
did.
well. So it did really well. Y'all really liked it, and then we kind of stopped putting it out for a little while. But it's not for a lack of not wanting to. Of course, these are all like in-person videos that me and Chip do. If anyone hasn't seen these videos on the Uncommon_Energy channel over on YouTube, our secondary channel for Uncommon Energy. They're in-person videos, so we have to be in the same room together is the first step. Get all the footage handled, and then it has to be edited and put out there. So we've got an editor, so that's like half of the process, to be honest, is being like taken care of by someone else, which like makes the workload for us a lot easier,
And it
and we
lets
should
us
be able
focus
to.
on the things that we're better at and care
Yeah.
more about, which is the content itself,
Yep.
and getting it out in a much more timely manner. So we're going to be getting a better workflow there. Hopefully, it will not be 4 months between this episode and the next one. Actually, I can promise you it will not be. Um, so yeah, very excited to be picking back up with the Evolution series, and that will be the next video. Will be Evolution series episode 3. We do have some other videos not Evolution series related, and if you're listening to this and you don't know what the heck we're talking about, go check out the second YouTube channel, Uncommon Energy. It's a lot of fun. The like TCG challenge type videos that we've been doing there. And we've got a lot more in store. We've got some other things lined up. So very much looking forward to that. And it did seem like it was getting some pretty good support initially. I mean, 3 videos in, 2 of them have over 75,000 views, and there's already
Yeah,
over 6,000 subscribers on the channel, which is pretty sick, more than I think either of us would have expected. So, and
that's
what's
pretty
crazy
crazy.
too is like after episode 2 of the Evolution series came out, episode 1 I think had like 40,000 views, and so in that time, it's just continued to like do pretty decently and accrue some viewership. So I hope if we keep putting it out, the series as a whole will start to succeed.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely excited for the future of this channel, and we're gonna try and be way more consistent with it moving forward. Um, we don't have like 100% time frame for like content coming out. I mean, at least once a month, we'll like at the bare minimum, but like we're trying to be doing more than that. Just gonna be kind of come down to me and Chip getting together, getting it recorded, and then with the editor now that we're working with, it's gonna make that whole process after that just be so much easier into getting the content out there. So I'm excited for the future of this channel, moving forward for sure. Um, the last thing.
Oh yeah, and one more thing too, so
Oh,
this
go ahead.
episode is gonna come out this Friday, but, if you are a Patreon supporter, you'll get access to the video 24 hours early. So Patreon supporters will be able to see the video, on Thursday sometime.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. So it'll come out Friday, Patreon on Thursday. Last thing to mention, I think here before we jump to our main topics for today is don't forget to register for Worlds
Mm,
because a big name player coming out of Japan, Daichi, did forget to register for Worlds. Now their process over in Japan is different. If you're, in the TPCI regions, you can still go to RK9 and register, I believe.
yes,
It's
yes.
not too late. But yeah, Daichi, one of the top players in Japan, one of the most notable, maybe not the most notable, but one of the most notable players by far in Japan, apparently didn't register in time, and I don't know when their deadline was over in Japan, but that kind of sucks. Just like one of the most notable players from Japan, one of the best players from Japan, one of their elite four, as well, who earned his world's invite at the championships. He had to get like top 32 or something to like get his invite. Ended up doing it, and is now not going to be at the world championships. And I know like I've seen his like posts on Twitter, like him like becoming the world champion of Pokemon is like his goal, like in life, it seems like. So I
Yeah.
know he is probably not feeling great about the situation.
Yeah, definitely tough. But, yeah, registration will be open until Thursday, August 8th, 8:59 Hawaii Standard Time. So if you are in a TPCI region and do register on Arcanine Labs, make sure you register before Thursday. This episode's coming out Wednesday morning, so hopefully if you're listening to this within the first little bit of the episode coming out, you'll have time to register if you have forgotten yet, up to this point. So
I didn't even
be
realize
sure
that
to do that.
I didn't even realize the deadline was actually coming up so soon. So yeah, hopefully no one else
Have you
misses.
registered?
I checked the other day. I'm gonna go check again one more time real fast. I mean,
Paranoia
if
kicking
it's
in.
just in my dashboard, that means I registered, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's there. It looks like I'm registered.
I think you're good, buddy.
View my confirmation. All right, yeah, I'm registered. I'm all good to go. It looks like. All right, locked in.
All right. Well, that gets the announcements and stuff out of the way. Let's go ahead and hop into that first topic this week. And a little bit of speculation, a little bit of theorizing on our part. How big will the Pokemon Regional Championships be this coming year? So been a bit of discussion around this because the game has continued to grow year over year, right? Which is great. Love to see it. But there was, I think, whenever the announcement came out about the season structure, right? Top 125 getting the world's invite. There's no longer the championship point threshold to reach for. You have to be in the top 125 at the end of the year to get that invite. One of my first reactions was this is going to hurt regional championship attendance. And I think I saw a little bit of that sentiment online as well. I thought about it a little bit more and I was like, well, no, I think ultimately attendance is going to be pretty much the same, maybe continue to grow a little bit, maybe dip just a tiny little bit. And I think any dipping that we would see in attendance would be just kind of a leveling out compared to what the boom has been in the last couple of years, right? It's been exponential growth the last couple of years. So exponential growth like that is not sustainable long term. So it makes sense. Maybe it peters a little bit or stays about the same, maybe increases a little bit less than it did in previous years. But, Baltimore Regionals has been live for registration for about a week now. And over 2,600 players registered, all age divisions for the trading card game, and registration is still open, which is pretty cool. So if you are wanting to play in Baltimore Regionals, you didn't know registration was open, you can still go register for the event.
Yeah, I believe registration doesn't end until like the day before the event. It's just usually the event's cap. So
Yes, yeah,
that's usually what stops people from being able to register. But I mean, it's good to see that. I mean, the numbers are still pretty high, right? I don't think, and when it came down to it, having thought about it, and like some discussion actually happened, it didn't seem like it was ever gonna be like a big deal. Um, or yeah, like it's like the world's qualifications for this year was never going to be like a huge reason that people weren't going to register for these tournaments, right?
yeah. That was like
So
my knee jerk reaction. But then, yeah, like I said, once I thought about it, it's like yeah, the majority of people playing just want to play, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I think even the people who had like even I think the majority of people who like were bummed out or had gripes with the new system are still probably going to play Pokemon. I mean, it's a pretty fun game. The
Yeah.
community's great, and I don't think there's like anything better out there. Like if you're just a fan of competing in card games, like you have a better shot at getting to the World Championships in Pokemon still with the new system than literally any other card game out there. So like if that's like still a goal is to compete in World Championships, you enjoy Pokemon. There's nowhere else really to go, to be honest. Like this is still the best spot to be, as long as you still love the game.
The
So
last Baltimore regionals, it was 2 years ago, but it was 1,088 players, and so with 2,600 all age divisions registered, I think we're already past that with the Masters, almost definitely. I think the question would be, how does it compare to some of the mid regionals that we had last season, right? Like the Charlotte Regional Championships, that was like, what, 2,300 people, something like that?
jeez. Well, yeah, we're not at that number quite yet, but we're not that far. There's still plenty
Yeah.
of time for people to register as well. Yeah, I wonder what we'll see this actually get up to because you're going to be able to get in all of those all those people who like, oh, I heard about it a week
2,100
before.
at Charlotte, by the way.
Yeah, so we're gonna get in all those people who are like a week before the tournament. We're like, oh, I heard about this a week before it happened. I was able to register. Like those. Well, I mean, who knows? We could cap like 2 weeks from now, and we'd still be a couple weeks out, right? But we're gonna be able to get a lot more of those people who are gonna be able to, who are gonna be finding out about the event a lot later, who are gonna be able to actually register and play in the event now,
I
which
actually
we didn't
saw
really
this
have last season at all.
Saw this kind of interesting tweet from Michael over on Twitter. Michael Zeely said that I don't think we're prepared for how big events are going to be this season. Baltimore 2022 was in Hall F, and Baltimore 24 is in Halls B, C, D, and E. And tweeted alongside it a floor plan picture of the convention center. So we were just in this single hall
They
in
still got us in
Baltimore.
the. We're still in the bunker down there this year,
We
though.
we we will still be down in the bunker, it seems like, which is not super sick, but it is what it is. But if we're gonna be in halls B, C, D, and E, like that is
More than
mm,
double.
yeah. So hall F by itself, 59,000 square feet. Hall E is 62,000 square feet. Hall D, 30,000. Hall C, 25,000. Hall B, 25 plus 5,000. It looks like that's a space that can be uh added on the extra 5,000 there. So, I mean, yeah, much more than double the square footage of last year, or 2 years ago, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. So they're really stepping up the space of these events. I mean, it's good to see. And actually, I would love to see like, and this is like some complaints that I've heard like some people have, which I didn't really like think about too much myself. But I always had my own complaints about events like NAIC this year was pretty fine, but NAIC last year was like super crowded, and we've had that at a couple events. Hopefully, that is something that is addressed this year, alongside just trying to get as many people in as possible. Is also just trying to make it like more comfortable of an event,
Right.
if that makes sense. Like not have like, yeah, people, not making it like, because like NAIC this year, like compared to last year, was like a huge step up in terms of like it seemed like space and like maybe coordination with like table setups and stuff like that. It was much more room, and like the flow of it was a lot better as well. So hopefully we see that step up as well, alongside just getting more space for people to play in. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for what else they do. It'll be exciting to see what they do with the follow up regionals, how much more space they get compared to these, and I'm going to be excited to see, what is going to be or how big the biggest one will be this year as well. What was the biggest one last year? Was it Orlando?
It might have been Charlotte. It might have been Orlando.
And I would be
Charlotte was
surprised if
2,100. Orlando that is the wrong Orlando. Orlando was 2,369.
was that the biggest one. 23,
Yes.
yeah, and I would be surprised if what was NAIC bigger than Orlando, or was it not?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, yeah. So I guess
There was a
NAIC,
while there at the end of the season where it was like every tournament was the largest event of all time. Like EUIC was the largest
yeah,
event, and then NAIC ended up breaking that. And EUIC had 2,600. NAIC had 2,692.
yeah. I expect NAIC to probably be the biggest event of the year again. But for regionals, it'll probably be Orlando if we get a Florida regional.
Right.
And I would be surprised if we didn't get, or if Orlando didn't come back, to be honest. I'm assuming Orlando's just gonna happen. They just haven't announced it yet. But it'll probably be the biggest regional of the year again. But I'm curious to see how big it gets. I'm curious to see how big, and UIC as well. UIC is going to be big. I wonder if, because it does feel like UIC is getting comparable to NAIC.
Yeah. Oh, I
I
mean, it
think,
was only 90 people more at
yeah.
NAIC this year.
So I feel like the
And EUIC capped. I mean, they both insta capped, right? So it's like really
yeah.
difficult to know. how many more either of them would be, right?
Yeah, and I feel like the hype of NAIC being the last event of the season isn't like that's not carrying it over EUIC basically. They're very much comparable at this point, which is really cool to see. I feel like the game's grown a lot in Europe, and we saw that was very evident at the beginning of the season when all their regionals like insta capped like in seconds. We had minutes over here for some of our fastest caps was like 10 minutes or something, but over in Europe it was like 30 seconds or something. So I guess that'll be another thing to like look out for is I believe registration for I guess for anyone who didn't know, I think registration for Dortmund is tomorrow.
Yeah, and Joinville as well.
Oh really? They're both going up?
I think so, yeah, at the same time.
Yeah. I know I mentioned this like last week or the week before that I'm definitely skipping Baltimore. Didn't register for it yet. I guess I still could technically.
Yeah,
But
come on, buddy.
I was thinking about going to Joinville or
How
Dortmund
about this?
instead. But
How about this? How about
uh,
this? If you win Worlds,
I'm
you
definitely
try
not
hard.
going.
If then you're definitely not going?
Yeah, that's like more of a reason for like, all right. I won Worlds. I'm just gonna take a break for a couple events. Yeah, I don't think I think the first
Oh,
event
come on. I would think that would fuel you and be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to everything," you know?
maybe I guess that'd have to happen. We'll have to see. But yeah, the my first event I plan to be for it to be LAIC, so I'm probably not gonna go to anything until LAIC. Because I know I'd mentioned skipping Baltimore for sure. They're definitely doing that. And I was like, maybe I'll do Dortmund instead. But yeah, I think my first event this season is gonna be LAIC. Focus on the gym and content grind for a couple months, and then come back for the new format for LAIC. I guess it'll be two new formats because it'll be a new format after Baltimore, and then the next set will be coming out before LAIC theoretically, right?
Do
It's
we
like,
have a new set for Baltimore?
well, no, a set is releasing the weekend of Baltimore. No, it's not a new set for
Oh,
Baltimore,
oh,
but
oh,
like a
oh.
new format is coming out around that time, and then there'll be another new format before LAIC theoretically. I
Yeah.
guess we don't know for sure, but that's like generally how things line up, and it looks like it's going to line up that way. So a lot will change before I go to another major tournament again. But I'm not bummed out about it. And if I really feel, the drive or the want or the need, there's regionals happening in that time
Alright.
frame.
What if you get
Louisville,
second at Worlds? Does that drive you even more?
probably that would probably push
That's
me a
more
little
like
better.
more likely way. Alright, how about
Maybe I
this?
just maintain the course though, because
Alright, which
then
which of these 4 scenarios
yeah.
leads to you going to more tournaments next year? You win Worlds, you get second, you get top 32, or you don't make day 2,
I honestly don't think any of those would change.
your outcome at all.
Yeah, I don't think it would change my outcome at all. But speaking of, what was I gonna talk to a little bit more? Oh yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm just gonna go ahead. Oh, actually, let's make a prediction here. Do you think Dortmund's gonna cap? How long do you think it will take for Dortmund to cap, or will it not cap in the?
It's probably still gonna cap really fast.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them 10 minutes.
Mm-mm.
You think they're still
60
getting that?
seconds.
You think they're getting that small of venues still?
60 seconds.
I feel like they've got to have stepped it up somewhat. I feel like it's gonna get capped, but it's not gonna be the. Yeah, my guess is gonna be around 10 minutes. Um, but maybe it'll be
I
a
hope I'm
Baltimore
wrong.
situation. Yeah, me too. Well, to an extent, like capping isn't like a bad thing, but like insta capping is obviously not great. Like if it capped within a week, that'd be like it almost feels like the perfect time frame.
It's hard to know for sure. I mean, but it definitely feels like Pokemon is like investing more in the regionals, right? It does seem like the Baltimore is going to be larger, right? They
Yeah.
did change all the logos and stuff this year as well. And another reason to believe that they're kind of upping the game when it comes to the regional level events. The organizer here, Gaming Generations, tweeted out the staff applications for the Baltimore Regional Championships. And alongside it as well, a lot of people who were filling it out were noticing some of the details. Um, Joe Matisse here said Baltimore staffing applications are up. Major changes include hotel rooms covered for professor staff and leadership gets travel booked. Also mentions, but does not explain, a travel stipend for some other staff. So it does seem like a lot more stuff is being paid for judges that was not being paid for in the past.
What does it mean? What do they mean by is professor staff literally anyone who judges, or
I guess that's a good question. I think so, right? Because when you become a judge, you are a
I
professor,
guess
right?
there is some staff that's not professors, I guess, right? Like,
Like
not like
volunteers, like people who are checking people in at the front desk and
yeah, maybe
stuff.
like that. I was curious. I wasn't actually sure, but that's good, great to see. I think we've mentioned it many times, and I think it's one of the things that gives me a little bit more leeway with you know, judges like, this is what I always bring up when, like, a judge misses a call on stream and the community complains about it, like, how'd they not catch it? What did like, they're not getting, like, paid to, like, it's, like, mostly a volunteer job across the board for anyone who judges these tournaments,
Yeah.
especially, like, regional level stuff. ICs are a little bit different, but, I'm down for the staff, at major tournaments, not just ICs, but regionals to be getting more, and making it more comparable, but then at that point, I think it's fair at a certain point for us to hold them to a higher what was the word I'm looking for? Higher am I blanking this out on this?
Higher standard.
Higher standard, yeah,
Yeah.
if they're getting compensated double or whatever it might become in the future of what they are currently, then I think it's fine to hold them to a higher standard, but currently, it's just a bunch of
Yeah.
volunteers, and it's not like there's that many like, I don't think yeah, if they just all quit, we can't run Pokemon tournaments, so, um, I mean,
At
I'm
the end
down
of the
for it.
day, it's a hobby for most people, right? Whether it's a hobby for the players,
Yeah,
hobby for
or the
the
staff.
judges. Yeah,
Yep.
it's the same thing.
That's a hobby on both sides. But if it turns into more of like a not like a full-time job situation, but a little bit more lucrative, it makes sense for them to like try and go to as many majors a year because it makes sense. And then they put in the extra effort to, on one side, there's the people that they look for to staff these major tournaments, they want more qualifications from them, and then the judges are going out of their way to, get, just better at judging, whatever that means, more qualifications, and that gets them into these staffs, these roles at these regionals, and then we get better judges. They get paid more. Sounds like a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, on the Gaming Generations form here, it says those selected will receive an email detailing the deadline to accept, contract details, including confidentiality agreement, Form W-4, Form I-9, days required, compensation information, wage rates, and dress code. Some positions may qualify for a travel stipend.
Mm,
And then that all selected professor staff members will have hotel accommodations provided by Gaming Generations.
yeah, it's cool to see. And I guess like all this as well is like with the and we talked about this last week. They did bring down juniors and seniors entry fee as well. Like they
Yep.
brought that down. They're also giving more to the judges. I don't know what they're doing, but it makes enough sense on their side to be able to do all these things, which is cool to see. I'm excited for this season of Pokemon to see how the landscape of it all changes, and then seasons after that as well. It just feels like we're on such a great upward trajectory right now.
Well, with Worlds coming up just next weekend, there's a lot of stuff happening at the World Championships outside of just the main event. So if you're going as a spectator or if you're going as a competitor looking for something to do in some of your downtime, there are tons and tons and tons of different in-person activities. There's actually a huge section on the Pokemon website detailing all the things that are happening. And this all went up last week. And one thing a lot of people noticed pretty quickly, Pokemon trading card game Pocket Demo will be at the World Championships. Be one of the first to experience the joys of the Pokemon trading card game Pocket. Open packs, experience unique digital finishes, parallel effects, and more. You may even find an immersive card featuring details that extend past traditional Pokemon TCG cards.
Well, they said Pocket's supposed to come out this year, right?
Oh, I don't remember for sure. I do. Oh man, I do not remember for sure.
Mm,
Let me see if I can find it real quick. But
yeah.
this is something Azul and I think, are definitely going to try to check out. A quick Google search does yield the result of Trading Card Game Pocket is meant to come out in 2024.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I remember. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what they do with it, how in depth the game is. It's like a simpler version of the Pokemon TCG. Um, but it could. I mean, I don't think it's gonna have the Pokemon Go effect, but
Yeah.
I this is gonna be more popular than PTCG Live for sure.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna be a better, more refined product as well. Um, yeah, I'll be interested into like. I mean, I'm down to like stream this when it drops and stuff. Like, especially if there's like another. I guess it depends if there's like a competitive ladder. If there's a way to play it competitively, I'm definitely gonna
Well, I
put
mean,
some
at
time into this.
minimum, I think you can challenge people, right? I guess the question would
Yeah,
be like, can you challenge people online or can you only
yeah.
challenge
Is there
people
a
who you're
ladder?
playing in person, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, I mean, even if it's only friend battles, like, you could do like limitless tournaments and stuff around it, right? Like,
Yeah,
there could still be a way to enjoy it competitively, even if there isn't an in-game ladder.
that's true. That's actually true. Yeah, you could just do like limitless tournaments.
It,
Sure.
it being in the game would be more ideal for sure, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, hopefully I assume there's gonna be some kind of ladder feature where you can just play against random people. Will there be like, is it just all just casual ladder? Was there a ranked ladder? Who knows?
but if you
That would
remember
be
at Worlds in 2022, there was a PTCG Live demo area set up.
yeah.
But I don't even know if they had a demo set up or if it was just the developers were there, right? So, TCG Pocket, I think Azul and I are going to try to find time to go check it out. Maybe we can talk about it in a couple weeks. Um, but yeah, they also on the Pokemon website kind of released the floor plan and the map of the trainer town, the world's trainer town at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, which is another area where a bunch of stuff is going on. There are tons of things happening at Worlds that are free to attend, I believe. Even you like don't even have to have a badge to go to some of these like outside things. If you remember for Worlds in Japan, there was like a parade and a fireworks show and all these
Yeah.
type of things that you had to register months in advance, and like it was a lottery system to even get a spot to be able to go view those things. I think like a lot of similar type things, I don't know all the details, are happening, but like they're just free and open to the public, which is definitely a cool thing.
Yeah. I didn't actually do any of the things in, I'm trying to remember if I did. I don't think I did any of the things in Japan.
I
I did
think
get
we
into a
all
couple of them.
tried to get spots, but nobody could.
Yeah, I got 1 or 2 spots for a couple things, but it didn't end up working out for us to be able to go to anything.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do here. I remember doing the actually, I don't even remember if that was that London Worlds or EUIC? I don't remember, but there was, like, some stuff outside on that one. I think it had to be London Worlds, whenever London Worlds was. That was 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of cool stuff going down at Worlds as always. So this is all in, like, is it all in a hotel?
Yeah, well, it's like outdoors, and I think connected to or like outside of where the actual event is taking place. And then they
Yeah.
also tweeted out the floor plan for the tournament area, right? So we got TCG Masters, Seniors, Juniors, VG happening where the Go area is, the Unite area, and then upstairs it looks like so that's all on floor 1, and then on floor 3 that's where they've got the open trading area. There's a lot of other things happening. There's a World Championships Museum, which I think is going to be cool. I'll go check that out.
Oh, that could be cool.
Signings. There's Genki ball making, which is like a traditional Hawaiian thing, I believe. And yeah, there's just a bunch going on,
Uh,
which is really cool.
the
So
quiet room.
yeah, find me in there,
Chilling.
getting away from all these people. A panel area as well. And then up on the top floor, the good old Pokemon Center,
There it is.
taking up as much room as half of the play area.
Yeah. That's gonna be where a lot of people are.
Definitely.
Did they put well, maybe I missed something when I looked at it. No, I think it was it. Never mind.
Yeah, but you can see here, like they've got the dazzling skies. So it's like going to be Pokemon Illuminate the Sky. It looks like a drone show of some sort, right? That'll be free Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Don't even have to have a badge. And then on the in-person events thing here, in-person activities, it'll tell you like stuff that's open to the public, and then stuff you have to have a badge to get to. Here's the World Championships History Museum, probably one of the more interesting things to Azul. Journey alongside other trainers and sharing the memories of the Pokemon World Championships. View past Worlds items, iconic Pokemon TCG decks, a wide array of Pokemon video games and their respective consoles, and much more as you celebrate the history of Pokemon's capstone competitive event.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I definitely want to try and check that out for sure. See what they actually put in there for like
Dude, in this
what is it?
image right here, I cannot how much more can I don't think I can zoom in. This is an upside down copy of Pokemon Box for the GameCube.
What is that?
Dude, Pokemon Box, it's the most expensive GameCube game. It's worth like it's 3 so
Why do they have three of them?
this is obviously digitally rendered, right? So yeah, there's it's just why are they choosing Pokemon Box to be placed here? It's not even a game. It's effectively a storage system. You know, like what Pokemon Home is, where people like who play the games now can like put their Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet into Pokemon Home. They can move it to one of the other games like Brilliant
Yeah.
Diamond or Legends Arceus. It's like just a way to store all your Pokemon. Pokemon Box was like the earliest iteration of that, but it was only sold on a disc in like 2003 or 4 or whenever it was that Ruby and Sapphire came out. So like it didn't sell very well, wasn't super popular, but it's like a genuinely useful thing for Pokemon people. It's like $3,000, I want to say.
What? Why? It's just like there's not that much of it. It's just a rare item. And
Yes,
it's
it's mostly the
Pokemon.
mostly the collectible side of it, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. No one actually is like, oh my gosh, this game is so fun.
Yeah. Well,
I can't
people
wait
I
to.
mean, people who I've seen people who have, like, bought it before to use it because it is a very functional thing. If you're, like, trying to complete the Pokédex in one of the Generation 3 games, it's actually really difficult to do, to have the box storage for it, in the actual games unless you have something like this.
Mandatory.
Yeah, but, okay, yeah, so if you look at, yeah, this website that tracks video game prices, look at the recent sales of this thing.
Jeez.
$2,000,
2000
2,100, 1,900, 1,900.
Pokemon box? What the heck is
Pokemon
this?
box. Pretty crazy.
This is the most expensive GameCube game.
I do believe so.
I'm actually curious what the second most expensive GameCube game is.
A lot less than $3,000,
That's what I'm saying.
but
Like,
it's just
why?
why so they might have a copy of it on display here, right? And that would be, cool to see or whatever, sure. There's actually a video game store near me that has one in their case, and I believe they are
Ooh,
selling it for $3,000, which is why I put
jeez.
that number out there. Um, but it's just funny that that's what they chose to use as the
Yeah.
stock display in this image.
I didn't think anyone was gonna look at it that hard. Well, maybe that's kind of like an Easter egg to put it there, like to
Yeah,
see if
but why is it
everybody's
upside down as well? The box art is upside down.
that's part of the Easter egg, and then there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, how hard is someone gonna look at this image? What can we put here that's, like, not obviously too ridiculous, but, like,
All right.
that's a little funny.
According to pricecharting.com, this is ranking hardware exclude, variants exclude, update results. The most expensive game is actually Sonic Heroes and Super Monkey Ball Duo Pack,
Of course.
then Pokemon Box, and then Gotcha Force down to $300 for just a
Sheesh.
disc, $450.
It's all about Sonic Heroes and Pokemon Box.
Yep,
Nothing else besides that really matters.
yep.
I'm surprised
Dude,
some of, like, the old wait, was there a Pokemon game on the GameCube? There is, right?
Gale of Darkness, $200.
Why is that not why is the box game more expensive than an
Because
actual
it's
game?
the collectability of it, right? So, Pokemon Gale of Darkness here is probably not that rare of a game compared to some
Okay,
of the games lower on the list, right? It's that
that's fair.
high because it is,
Pokemon.
it's Pokemon, it's playable, like, and people want to play it. People want to have the game and go back and play it, and there's no way to play this game outside of playing it on the GameCube or, you know, doing the thing that a lot of people do with retro games, right? So it just drives the price of these things way up.
Makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, it's still a little absurd. And the Sonic one is interesting too. I guess it's just like it's gotta be a rarity thing for I mean, that's
Yeah, this is
Pokemon
probably
box
like a
games.
variant, like Sonic Heroes and Super Monkey Ball, like exist as
Oh,
games separately, but like this specific collection that has them packaged together is probably super rare. That's definitely what it is.
have you ever played Super Monkey Ball?
Very briefly. I've played
Yeah.
some Monkey Ball games very briefly, but I don't remember which one. What about you? You like it?
No, but
Mhm. Have you
I didn't
played it?
I didn't know it was a series of games. Yeah, I played one of them on the DS one probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They have
I
them
didn't
on
know it
the
was a
Switch.
series. I'm not gonna get a Super Monkey Ball game.
You can buy it with the podcast account. It's okay, and we can talk about it. It's a business expense.
You really want me to play Super Monkey Ball on the Switch?
Imagine
I
trying
think
to
the
play it
one
on a flight, and then you're like, all of a
yeah.
sudden you hit some turbulence, and you
Well,
your
that would actually
Switch
maybe make it
shake.
hard enough to make me wanna actually play it, to be honest.
Have you ever seen speed runs? We're getting super off topic here. Have you ever seen speed runs of Super Monkey Ball games?
No, I've seen some
It's
speedruns in
so
general.
ridiculous because they just like skip half the level.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
Let me see if I can
the
find one.
most of whenever I tune into, like, because like, what is that? Summer Games Done Quick, that's, like,
Mhm.
the big one that happens every year, the big event for speedrunning. Whenever I tune in, it's always Zelda games, which is, like, obviously, like, a big one in the speedrunning community, but, yeah, whenever I tune into any streams like that, it's always Zelda games.
All right, here's the world record run of Super Monkey Ball on GameCube. Let's see how fast This guy flies through. Look, all right, floor 4. Here's the ball. Oh, he's not gonna do any crazy skip? Oh, he is. There you go. Oh, he
There
just
you
turned around, did just skipped all the level. Hopped over.
go.
All right, off of the Super Monkey Ball tangent, back into the world of the Pokemon TCG. But yeah, the Pokemon Pocket demo, we'll try to check it out and update you guys on our thoughts in a few weeks. And also, of course, if you see us at Worlds, be sure to come up, say hello. Love to chat with people who watch the podcast. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to guess that flavor text. But before we do, we need to take a moment to thank our fantastic sponsor, Dragon Shield, for supporting us here at the Uncommon Energy Podcast. Of course, Dragon Shield makes the best sleeves in the game. We are big fans of the matte sleeves. Azul, you got something picked out to use for Worlds in next weekend?
I got all these yellows behind me, so I'm gonna be bringing some Dragon Shield yellow mats with me. Um, Definitely gonna be making a color switch up headed into the new season when I finally come back and start playing. But yeah, bring some of those with me. Rocking the
It looks
yellows.
like you have enough sleeves there to play 2 seasons
You'd think that, but it's not gonna last that long. Yeah, not gonna last quite that long.
because
But
you
yeah,
just change your sleeves out too often.
I don't change about that often. Just when it's necessary, when it needs to happen.
Changes the
Yeah,
sleeves halfway through a tournament.
if I don't do it, I'll lose. So
Wrong.
you have to have to change the sleeves. Yeah, shout out to Dragon Shield, as always, for sponsoring the podcast. And if you head over there, pick something up, use code UEPOD, get yourself 5% off. Directly support us here on the podcast as well. We always appreciate that. And up next, we got guess that flavor text. It is my turn. I made a huge jump last week. Chip,
Yeah.
how you feeling after that?
I saw a comment on the YouTube video is like Chip just taught everyone a good lesson in preparedness
Mm.
because I was not prepared and that caused Azul to get a pretty easy guess that flavor text last week, getting 4 points. I am now only leading by 1 point, so I'm feeling the pressure a little bit, not gonna lie.
A bit of a teaching and learning moment for Chip Ritchie in that one. But
Tough.
yeah, guess that flavor text each week. Me or Chip will pick out a Pokemon card, read the flavor text on it, and then the other co-host tries to guess which Pokemon that flavor text belongs to. And there's 4 lifelines that they can choose to use if they want for each lifeline, or 3 lifelines. For each lifeline you use, 1 less point, 4 points if you don't use any of them. Lifelines are what set the card is from, what stage the card is, and then read an attack name. Last week, I guessed without using a single lifeline. I got 4 points. So I'm only 1 point behind Chip. Chip, are you ready for this week's flavor text?
Do you know how many weeks of doing this podcast it took for someone to get more than 1 point?
A long time, probably.
13 weeks.
And what was the
You got Marshadow correct. You were up 2 to 1. Then I got Glaring Ponyta correct the next week,
Oh,
2
I
to
thought you meant
2.
to get 2 points for the because I was looking at it, I was like, Joe Bernard was the first person to get a two-pointer,
To get yeah,
but
for someone to get more than 1 point. Gosh, that took a while.
yeah.
It was on me giving you Darmaku as your guess for Darumaka.
Yeah. That did take a while.
All right, come on, give it to me, buddy.
Alright. Even though it doesn't die in the vacuum of space, it can't move around very well in zero gravity.
Whoa. Well, I mean, the space. Hmm. Well, when you talk about space, the very first Pokemon to think of lore wise is definitely Deoxys. It literally comes from space, but I don't know if it has problems moving around. The space thing is probably going to throw me off here. Let me hear the flavor text again.
Even though it doesn't die in the vacuum of space, it can't move around very well in zero gravity.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need some help here. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say like this is probably not Deoxys, even though like that is the typical like space Pokemon. Let's go with what set the card is from. My go-to first flavor get. My go-to first lifeline.
It is from Chilling Rain.
Okay, could it be like Clefairy or Clefable? Those Pokemon come from they are able to evolve due to the Moonstone, right? Which comes from space. That's kind of one of my other thought lines here. Um, let's read an attack name.
Try attack.
Okay, Chilling Rain, Tri Attack. Um, when I think of Tri Attack, the Pokemon that immediately come to mind are like Porygon Z, Porygon 2, um, and then Dodrio, Doduo, but I don't think it's Dodrio, Doduo. It could be Porygon, a bit of the Porygon line. I don't think there's a Porygon in Chilling Rain, though. Let's go with what stage the card is. I'm going to need a lot of help here.
It is a stage 1.
So Porygon 2 is the closest thing I have now. Um, I mean, I don't think Clefable gets Tri Attack. I guess it could be Clefable. I don't think there's a Clefable in Chilling Rain either. Chilling Rain is the Shadow Rider, Ice Rider Calyrex set. I think that Chilling Rain also was the first set that had the trainer gallery, so maybe it could be a trainer gallery card, so it could be an older card actually. Oh man. I mean, I'm gonna go with either Clefable or Porygon 2. I just don't think either of those cards are in the set. I've got nothing else here. Doesn't die in the vacuum of space. Yeah, let's just go with Clefable. Don't really love the guess, but yeah, lock it in.
It is not Clefable. It is Porygon 2!
Dude.
Dude, immediately when I said Tri Attack and you were like, I'm thinking of Porygon Z, Porygon 2. I was like, what? How do you get to there from Tri Attack?
Because that's the one of their signature moves.
No one else has Tri Attack?
Not many.
Doesn't a Deoxys have Tri Attack?
Dude, why is there a Porygon in Chilling Rain?
It's chilling.
What does the Porygon Z do in this set, dude?
Bug transmission.
There's been so many like good Porygon Z's or like decent Porygon Z's. Like I just
Yeah.
would have thought I would have remembered what set. And this one is just not that good, right? So or not
No.
interesting really at all. So I wouldn't have thought of it. Dang it, man! Porygon 2. I was so close.
You were super close.
Let me see.
I don't know why. Why is Porygon 2 out in space too? Like what?
Yeah,
What's going
that's
on there?
kind of wacky, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, not that many Pokemon actually learn Tri Attack. Here's the list on Bulbapedia. So you see the Porygon line, Dodrio, Doduo,
Ooh,
Dugtrio, Magneton. So like the 3-part Pokemon, I guess, right?
that makes sense.
It's really not that many Pokemon.
Yeah. That's like the
There's
lore
a
that I
lot
never
more.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, these all learn Tri Attack too?
Yeah, but it's by TM, TR, or Move Tutor. So they don't like naturally learn it. These Pokemon learn it just by leveling up in the game.
How does that work when they give attack names into the TCG? Does that actually apply? Like,
Well, they usually are like similar, but there's plenty of attack names in the TCG that don't actually exist in the video game. Like for a long time, Buzzwole's attack, Buzzwole GX Jet Punch, was not a real attack. It didn't exist in the video game, but it eventually became the signature move years later of Palafin, who is the only Pokemon that can learn it.
what about
So that's why when you look at the
Landorus had Jet Punch though too, right? Was Landorus's attack called
it
Jet
was the
Punch?
same effect. It was called Hammerhead was the name of that attack.
Okay, okay.
Come on, you should know that. But if you look at Palafin's attack here, it is Jet Punch, the original Palafin that
Yep.
came out. Uh, and it does the same thing that Buzzwole's Jet Punch did, right?
Yeah.
But
Only 30
a move
damage.
that
What the
never
heck?
existed until this most recent generation. Did not exist whenever Buzzwole first came out.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. The more you know. I learned something here today.
Will you retain the information?
Probably not.
Definitely not. Dang it, man. I had it. I had it. I should have had a point there.
Not today, Chip. All right. Well, I talked about it a little bit when we started off. Talking a little bit about Shrouded Fables. That's the last thing we're going to talk about here today. Shrouded Fables been out for what, a week now?
Yeah, just
Um,
under. Yeah, about 5 days.
Decent amount of fairly big online tournaments have happened. 300 player tournaments. So people are out there playing the new cards in these tournaments, and the meta is the format and the meta is like evolving, like for sure. Like Charizard was the big hype deck, like I mentioned, but Regidrago is the deck now. Regidrago is the deck. I
Yeah.
think not even like close. And then the question really is like, what beats it what else is worth trying to run up against it or run up against the other things that kind of beat Regidrago as well.
I guess first thing before we get into like looking at actual results here, let's just talk about the set itself and like what are some of the standout cards. And I think everyone knew this card was going to be pretty good, but it's made its way into a lot more decks than I think people thought it would, and that's the Pheasantipity EX.
Yeah, yeah, it's I guess, like, Oricorio did not feel as good as Pheasantipity feels now. I don't know. But maybe I'm just kind of forgetting how good Oricorio was. For anyone who doesn't know, there's an Oricorio that had this exact same ability that Pheasantipity has. Flip the script, search your deck, or not search your deck. If one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn, draw 3 cards. You can't use more than one of this ability during your turn. So Oricorio literally had this exact same ability. It was good in some decks. Um, but the Pheasantipity feels
I think
so much better.
the main
It's
problem for
ADP.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The main problem for Oricorio is like there was a lot more strong one prize decks at this time too. I feel like, or actually, that's not even true. What am I saying? It was really just ADP, right? Because this thing could be knocked out for 3 prizes. Dedenne GX, we
Yeah.
had that as a really powerful draw engine, right?
Mhm.
Why
And you want
utilize
the
Oricorio whenever you just throw down the Dedenne and draw 6 cards?
pretty good.
Um, Also, like, it has less HP. Pheasantipity's attack is actually decent as well. I would say most decks never will use this, but it is like it's strictly better than like Razor Ring here on Oricorio, right? Because it's all 3 colorless energy. It can be used in any deck. Any deck can technically use this,
I
which
wonder
does boost it a little bit.
wonder if I ever attacked with Oricorio. I think when I played, like, the Whimsicott Tool deck, I maybe attacked with Oricorio at once. 'Cause I played the Oricorio in there, and it had Psychic Energy, so I think it was possible. Um,
So I
but
saw
yeah.
someone point this out, which is pretty funny. If you look at the full art Oricorio GX and the full art Pheasantipity, they're doing the same pose. Kind of a cool little callback. I have to imagine that was intentional.
Yeah, yeah, definitely seems like it. It makes me remember how hideous the old full arts were, just because the background was literally just one color, like,
Yeah.
no but, like, this is so much better. The new full arts are so much better. There's, like, some kind of pattern or something going on, some
I was a fan of
variation.
the XY era full arts. Yeah, these were some of my favorites. Like the
Yeah,
Manectric EX, the
they have
Rayquaza
even they have even more
EX.
going on in their backgrounds.
Yeah, these were sick. The Evil Tall EX.
Yeah, and I got really plain for some reason. It just became a blank
Yeah.
one tone
You played a lot
background.
of Evil Tall. What was your go which Evil Tall did you use? XY base set?
That or the promo one.
Dude, I
One it was one
had
of
I
those.
had 4 of the promos, baby. Shout outs to
Yeah.
Promo Wybird.
I probably had a split, like, where I just had, like it was like a 2-2 split or something. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, like, how I accrued them.
But yeah, the Pheasantipity seems really good. And it's because like I don't know, the format does feel pretty draw heavy, pretty aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Lugia, Raging Bolt,
And a lot of decks have
Regidrago.
yeah, a lot of decks have similar liabilities in play already. So it's not like the Pheasantipity is well, if I bench this, this gives them, like,
I
a
mean,
whole new option to play around. Like, if you're
yeah,
playing
if you're
Regidrago or Raging Bolt, you have Ogre Pawns on your bench that have the exact same amount of HP.
yep. You've got
Um,
Squawkabilly with 160.
yeah.
You've got Luminion with 170, right? Like these 2 prize liabilities are already prevalent in a lot of these decks. So yeah, the Pheasantipity, man, this card is gonna be played in a lot of decks, I think, at Worlds.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of this one for sure. It definitely feels like definitely more played than I thought it was gonna be for sure, but it's
What
really good. It's really, really good.
what from the new set has been disappointing to you that you were excited about?
Um, Honestly, nothing really.
The Loyal 3, the Kingdra, any of that stuff?
I didn't really expect much out of any of that stuff. The Loyal 3 has felt better than I thought it was going to feel. Um, so that feels better. I don't know if there's really a space for it in, like, a competitive meta though. It's not quite good enough, I don't think. But then, like, I feel like Pheasantipity exceeded expectations for me, and I guess Dusknoir did as well. To be honest, I think Dusknoir for me also exceeded expectations because that card, I mean, it's good in the obvious stage 2 decks, the Charizard, the Dragapult, but it's also, like, really, really good in other decks as well. We could actually bring up
Yep.
the tournament result from day one of the Doom tournament. Had like 300 people in
Yep.
it.
I saw this one.
Yeah, and it ended up going 8-0. This was just day one. They didn't have a great finish in day two. But look at this deck, and it's like, first off, what is this deck? And then it's got Dustnor in there, which I think is a big part of it, though. Because basically you don't play any one prizers besides the Dustnor. So if your opponent KOs your Dustnor, they go on odd prize cards, and you don't care. And if they don't KO, you get to utilize it for pretty powerful effect once you get up to that Dustnor, and you can kind of take over the game from there. So it's kind of just like a two prize box almost.
Yeah, this type of the energy acceleration that Teal Mask Ogrepon has enables this type of unique strategy, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the coolest parts about this card. Just getting an extra energy in play, double turbo existing in the format as well, just can allow you to make things happen that maybe otherwise wouldn't. And for those who don't know, the Tournament of Doom, Senior Doom shoutouts ran a quote unquote world championships on PT or on Play Limitless using TCG Live. 300 people, over 300 people competed in it day one. 55 moved on to day number two. And yeah, like you said, this deck went 8-0 in day one. Pretty wild. I saw you were playing this a little bit on your stream today. What were you thinking about it?
Yeah, I played it a bit. Before I played with this, though, I tried to take like a similar concept around the idea of like utilizing Dustnor in that way of it being your only one prize Pokemon in your deck. And I played around with it with Raging Bolt, like Raging Bolt with a Dustnor line. And this deck felt pretty good. And then I tried the Ogre Pond deck, and it still felt solid, and it's a cool deck, but it just didn't feel as powerful. Like the ability to just use Raging Bolt to like one hit KO everything every single turn. That's basically the idea of what the other deck is trying to do, but it's like it feels like you have to work harder. Um, so I don't know. It feels like it might just be a weaker version of like this kind of Raging Bolt deck, but I think something out there, be like a two prize deck with a Dustnor line, is definitely just really, really good. I think the
What's the
question is just
most
what.
Yeah, what can be like the least investment, most like self-sustaining two prize attacking deck, right?
Yeah, that you can just throw a Dustnor line in there because like the Dustnor, like it acting as your odd prize, like forcing your opponent on the odd prize card, without them being able to get an advantage of that prize card because you just don't have any other one prize Pokemon in play is such a big deal up against stuff like Charizard, like Gardevoir, like Dragapult, and also like against Lugia because you can go Dustnor, knock out a Chinchino. They get a prize card, but they can't do anything with that prize card in terms of the prize trade because
They
all your
still
other
have to
Pokemon
knock
are two
out three
prizes.
bolts.
Yeah, they still have to go through 3 two-prize Pokemon at that point, and you got the free one-prize knockout. And also, like, this deck, obviously, like, going second, you just go second, 1 hit KO, they're active pretty much no matter what it is. The other deck struggles a little bit with that, because the most you're doing with, like, a Weird Ear is, like, 160. The Ogerpon can hit for, like, 120. So you're not getting to, like, those big 1 hit KO numbers going second like you can with the Raging Bolt. So I feel like this might just be kind of the better way to play that idea, but I still need to try out Miraidon as well. And the other deck is just cool. It's like a different way to do it. But I think that's what like both of these decks are trying to emphasize is the abuse of trying to abuse Dustnor, not in terms of like a combo sense, like Charizard and Dragapult take advantage of Dustnor because they're trying to like combo extra damage spread in the Dragapult sense, and then Charizard it ramps up your numbers really fast to be taking one hit KOs.
Bro, should you have
Um,
saved the sauce for Worlds?
I don't know, maybe. I feel like I'd hope other people are on this because it didn't take that long to find out.
Bro, you
But
respect the other players too
I
much.
yeah, I just ran in against someone on ladder and they were playing Raging Ball Dustnor. I was like, that's a pretty good idea. And then I saw the Ogre Pong with Dustnor go ahead and go 8-0 at the Doom tournament. And I was like, all right. Well, like, and that concept kind of like stuck in my head. I was like, okay, I get what's happening here. It makes sense. And then once I tried it out with Raging Bolt, I was like, this just feels really good. I was like, this just feels really, really good. So I don't know. Yeah, so I'm saying like the meta is still like evolving a lot and a lot of things are going on. And we're definitely some time between now and Worlds for a lot of development to happen. It'll be curious to see what everyone's been working on as well, because I'm sure there's a lot of decks out there that people have been cooking up
Yeah.
that
And a lot of
make things
people
interesting.
there are good players and Worlds competitors playing in these online events, right? But, you know, you don't see Tord out here playing in these things, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't see the Williams and the Bradners and, you know, we don't know what everyone else is cooking up, right? They're playing it close to the chest most likely.
Or they're all panicking because they just figured out about Dusknoir and Raging Bolt.
Also, something I have wondered before, and this is definitely something that exists. Like, there are definitely people who have Smurf accounts here that
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
it happens for sure. There's some good players in here with just random names and stuff like that.
I mean,
Um,
besides, like we've mentioned it before, besides the testing group, this is the best way to practice is these online tournaments. So,
Definitely.
there definitely are some Smurfs in there for sure. So it's always good to, like, look at the results and just see what those take a look at the tech cards, Some of it is a little bit like, the variance of these tournaments is a lot higher than most tournaments. But, like, this specifically was best 2 out of 3, I believe, like, and it's copying the world's format of 8 rounds into 2 rounds or whatever,
Yeah, and the final results did lead to Lugia getting the win in Senor Doom's World Championships. Actually,
and
Lugia
dominated.
taking 4 out of the top 8 spots.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the most popular deck was Regidrago. Lugia has a pretty good Regidrago matchup, like, very solid, very favored. Um, One of the decks we saw kind of saw rise to the top there in the end of day 1 was Snorlax Stall, which Lugia also has a good matchup against.
Yep.
And then one of the decks that beats up on Regidrago that we saw have a that do decently well, actually better than Regidrago, is Raging Bolt, which Lugia also has a favorable Raging Bolt matchup with the Chinchinos. If you got the rats in there, you're good. I've been cooking up a build of Lugia that doesn't play the rats, that plays double Ursaluna. I don't know if it's still good enough to combat Raging Bolt, but I want to try that a little bit further. But the go-to way is with the Chinchinos right now, for sure. Um, so it does kind of open up a little bit of opportunity for Gardevoir, because Gardevoir generally, if it's got the Enhanced Hammer or Sinnohs, is favored into Raging Bolt and Lugia. But your Regidrago matchup is tough. So
Yeah, and Regidrago, we didn't even mention this earlier, did get one of the strongest pieces from the new set, the Curum.
yeah, specifically strong in Regidrago because the Kyurem's
Yeah,
ability allows it to use its attack for a colorless energy if there's a Colress in your opponent's discard pile or a card with the name Colress in it in the discard pile, Colress in the name. So that's obviously very good against Lost Zone stuff. But Regidrago can copy this attack from your discard pile for what is it? For 2 grass and a fire. So you don't need to put the Kyurem in play when your opponent has a Colress in the discard pile, or you don't need to build up 2 water and 2 metal and a colorless on this. You just need the 2 grass and the fire to do 110 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon, which is pretty good against all the big evolution decks.
Gardevoir, Charizard, Dragapult, Lost Box. And against Lost Box, you just slap this sucker in play once they
Yeah.
play a Chorus as well.
And everyone does play Manaphy, right? But people are playing the Cancel and Cologne combo. They got Prime Catcher, they got Bossasaurus, they got Cancel and Cologne. And it's really easy to pull that combo together at some point in the game with Legacy Star, right?
And
You don't
that's
have
the
to do it
thing.
turn
Yeah,
2.
you just have to do it at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You just
you
got to do it
see
at some
so
point.
many cards with this deck, you're just eventually going to find the pieces to pull it off.
Yeah.
And then also sometimes against the stage 2 decks like Charizard, Dragapult, they can't always just get Manaphy right away. They should
Yeah.
be looking out for it really fast, obviously, but sometimes you just can't do it. Sometimes you gotta just be like, "Yep, hope you don't have the Kyurem turn 2," because
Yeah.
that Drago doesn't always have it, but this deck is, you know, done really well, and it's become pretty consistent.
And people are, there's some anti Kyurem advocators out there, a decent amount of them, to be honest, actually. And that kind of just should speak to the power of this deck, right? Like people are
Yeah.
purposely being like, nah, Kyurem's not even that good. I don't know if I agree with that. I think the idea of the threat of Kyurem is like really powerful. Obviously, if you go up against a Regidrago at Worlds, you're gonna assume they have Kyurem until you can try and make an assessment that they don't. But I think at the very least, you'd always want to play Kyurem because there's situations in other matchups, like up against Lugia, you can use Kyurem to knock out multiple Chinchinos in play or stuff like that. The one card I think you maybe could cut would be like the Canceling Clone. You could like not play Clone, but still run the Kyurem. So just always have the threat of it. Whenever the Charizard player prizes man, if you can't find it, you're cooking. But really, the power of Regidrago in those matchup is honestly with the Halucha combo. Being able to go like turn 2 attack with Dragapult plus Halucha KO 2 Charmanders in play, like the only 2 Charmanders, and they're completely just set back and can't set up ever, right? Um, so that's like almost like the bigger deal as to why Regidrago has these favorable matchups up against these evolution decks. Like the Kyurem is good, but I feel like you're beating a lot of them just on like a turn 2 Dragapult plus Halucha, which we see most people playing are still including the Halucha, even though they are playing like the Kyurem combo.
Yeah, something we've seen move out of the lists quite a bit is it actually is still in a lot of the lists, but if you pay attention to the lists that are doing well, there's it's definitely a mix, but you're seeing people drop the Gudra from their list, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like you have to make space for some stuff, right? Like almost everyone was running Penny for a little while, but there's like no pennies going around anymore. People are playing the Switch to have like a more aggressive switching option after you like use the Kyurem attack. The Gudra had to go. Noivern's not in many builds anymore. Yeah, you've got to run the Canceling Cologne. The Kyurem. Pheasantipity is really good. And we see like even this list we're looking at here, only 3 Ogerpon, 3 Regidrago V, which are both like pretty important Pokemon. I would even
Yeah.
argue that probably the the Ogerpon is more important than the Regidrago. Like, I think I would go to 4 of that first because that
Yeah, I
is, like,
think
important
especially
with
if you're
draw
playing something
power.
like Radiant Charizard in the list as well. Like this list has
Yeah.
Radiant Gardevoir, which is okay. I think Charizard
Yeah.
is definitely better. The reason you see these Gardevoirs popping up is really for the mirror match, so that opposing Dragos can't, use Giratina or Koraidon or whatever they have to one hit KO Drago.
Yeah,
The
also
problem is if
Lugia.
they have raging, yeah, Lugia as well. Yeah, Lugia reduced damage, but the Reggie Drago player, I mean, I think this is just another, the fact that stuff like Gardevoir could pop up, I think is another reason that the best like big hitter is the Raging Bolt in the Reggie Drago deck.
Yeah, yeah. That's, like, a big choice to make, I think, is, like, Tina versus the Raging Bolt because the one of the game plans that you can execute as Gardevoir in this matchup, if they play Tina, is you just get a full HP Gardevoir EX in your active, and then you just punch whatever, and they can't 1-hit KO it. And that's like a reason people have been cutting Cresselia from Gardevoir, but that's a reason to like bring Cresselia back into the deck because it doesn't allow them to like spread their damage really thin across the board with Dragapult because you can just Cresselia it all off. And then it allows you to build up energy on multiple Curlias, heal that damage, and then get a full HP Gardevoir EX in play, which you can't KO if you're playing the Tina instead of the Raging Bolt in the
Another thing I've seen people talk
Drago.
about with the Regidrago here in Gardevoir specifically is the neutralization zone. So if
Yeah,
you look at most or most Regidrago lists, pretty much no one's playing a stadium right now.
yeah,
So a well-timed neutralization zone can just, I mean, if you're playing Lost Box, if you're playing uh, Gardevoir, whatever it is, those one prize attacking decks, this can really make your path to victory so much easier, even if they pull off the Cure and play at some point.
yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah, I
neutral
guess they can't even pull off yeah, against Lost Box specifically, they can pull off the Cure and play, but
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the neutralization zone is like an interesting route to potentially take. I think we'll see most Regidragos probably play the Temple of Sinnoh because of Lugia's like the pivot in the meta of Lugia becoming more popular to like respect the Drago. So they'll have an answer, but even then, Regidrago discards stuff really aggressively. Researches Legacy Star. You're not going to be able to keep everything as the game progresses. So neutralization zone does seem like I don't know, potentially a big card to play at the World Championships, if decks aren't running enough stadiums. 'Cause, like, this you can use this against a ton of decks right now, potentially, if you just get it down at the right time.
neutralization zone, Mad Party. What's it called? It's not Mad Party. What is it?
United Wings?
United Wings, buddy. Come on now.
I don't know, they're still gonna KO it with a Dragapult, like, get a KO off your bench, so,
Oh, come on.
yeah. One thing with Neutralization Zone as well is, you do need to, like you can, like even if your opponent doesn't draw prize cards, you need the resources to consistently have attackers that they can't draw prize cards off of. I think the coolest deck that this can be included
No.
in is
Prevent all damage done to Pokemon that don't have a rule box.
oh, I thought they just didn't draw a prize card. I'm
Nope.
trolling.
Prevent all damage.
Oh my gosh. Oh wait, that changes things. That's a game changer actually. Huh. I
Yep.
literally thought it just said they don't draw a prize card.
Nope. Dude, they're gonna teleportation burst until they win the game against a Raging Bolt.
They'll get there. Okay, that makes things a little bit more interesting for sure, actually. Yeah, I think the coolest card to or coolest deck to include this in is Great Tusk Mill. Because basically Great Tusk doesn't really win the game by just milling your opponent's deck faster than they can take knockouts. It usually wins through running your opponent out of like a resource, right? Like running them out of switch cards and then trapping something with counter catcher, or running them running them out of ways to actually attack Mimikyu, and then just pushing Mimikyu in the active and winning the game because they can't KO Mimikyu. Neutralization zone is similar. Run them out of stadiums and vacuums, and then neutralization zone hits the field, and they can never KO a Great Tusk ever again. Um, so yeah, this card is like I mentioned this like every time I've talked about this card. It's not actually like this will never be a consistent win condition in any deck because as soon as this wins a tournament, every deck is adding a vacuum or a stadium or something
Yeah.
like that. But like I think whether it be at the World Championships or at other tournaments in this format, it's definitely possible that this card has its tournament where someone just has a really good deck with it, and then just it's at the right time, the right place at the right time. No one's really running counter stadiums, and you just win with it. Definitely
Yeah,
possible.
could get that good old Decidueye cycle in there for
Yeah.
neutralization zone. So yeah, I mean Reggie Drago seems like it alongside Lugia are gonna be like the decks to beat going into Worlds. Like those are the two decks that everyone's kind of got at the top of their mind, I think, in their testing. Um, and I think they will both be really, really popular, even though they
Yeah.
are decks to beat because they are that strong.
Yeah. It'll be I'm curious to see I'm more curious to see, like, I think Raging Bolt won't be quite as popular just because it's, like, less of an attractive deck to play. It's, like, way more linear than Lugia, and, I think, like, we are going to the World Championships, but there is still definitely, like, a higher caliber of player who, who, like, separate themselves even at the World Championships. I don't think any of those players would pick up Raging Bolt, but I could see them picking up Lugia. I think they're more likely to pick up Lugia than Raging Bolt, so that would, like, add to the potential popularity of Lugia, overall. So I think Raging Bolt seems like a really good player right now. I think a decent amount of people will play it, but it's not gonna be quite, like, in the top. Maybe it'd be third most popular. I could see it being third most popular, like under Reggie Drago and Lugia. And then the question
Yeah.
from there, the bigger question I feel like is how popular are Gardevoir and Charizard going to be? I think that's like a bigger question. I think Dragapult's basically gone. Like there won't be very much Dragapult at the World Championships. I don't think. Maybe it's better than I give it credit for, but I've not given it credit for a long time, and I don't think it's never really impressed me that much.
Yeah, it might just be a little too slow right now.
Yeah, that's the way it kind of feels. That's the way it kind of feels.
But I mean, things are still continually like evolving and changing here. Like a Miraidon deck just won an event tonight.
Yeah, like I mentioned, that's
Um,
like another deck to try out with like that Dusknoir line. Like get it in there. You'd have to, like, play around with, like, your
like
one
if
prize
there's
to
not
lineup.
Charizard in the format, Miraidon still seems pretty good. Raging Bolt is probably pretty tough, but
Yeah, that one that's not gonna help, though. That's, like, that damage difference, like, now your Miraidon or Raikou punch turns into a KO, right?
sure.
And then you have Ursaluna into the late game or maybe a Raichu play. So, like, it's, like, getting that first 2 prize cards, right? Like, if you can get a punch, a Raging Bolt plus Dusclops or
Yo,
Dusknoir into a boss KO on an Ogerpon into Ursaluna, I mean, that's your 6 prize cards, right?
the Academy at night plus Electric Generator combo here.
It's interesting. I mean, finding the academy is tough. You don't have any way to find stadiums, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It feels like a waste to play 15 lightning energy if we feel like we have to like help ourselves out with the academy. I don't know. Maybe it's the move, but you can't really find the academy. So
I was looking in I think it was Etchy's stream today was playing Academy at night Cassiopeia, whatever that card is, where you can only play
with
it if it's
Squovet,
no, you can only play it when it's like the last card in your
yeah,
hand, and
but
then search your deck for up to 2 cards.
you can put it on top with the academy and then Squovet into it, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I don't think he was
Oh,
playing
in
a Squavet,
here
but
in the Maridon.
yeah, it was in a Miraidon deck. There was no Squavet. It
Oh
was just like trying it out, I think. But like I think there's potential with that. Like searching deck for 2 specific cards can be
yeah.
really, really powerful.
I mean, Peony Maridon was pretty good, right? Like that was a pretty good deck.
Obviously a little bit easier
Um,
to pull off than Cassiopeia.
Yes. Yeah, and Peony
I'm
only
gonna need to
got
learn how to say this person's name before Worlds if we're gonna see this card.
Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia.
Cassiopeia.
I think it's how you pronounce it in League of Legends. I think this is literally the exact same spelling.
Okay.
Cassiopeia.
Cassiopeia.
Yeah. Pretty sure there's a champion in League
That
of
sounds right.
Legends.
Sounds good.
There is a champion in League of Legends called Cassiopeia. I think they are spelled the exact same, but I'm actually not 100% sure. Um, yeah, this card overall, I don't know if we'll ever get it to work, but yeah, Peony was like definitely a niche supporter that was cool. And also only got trainer cards as well. I forgot that. Yeah, Peony only got trainer cards, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier to play. You just played it and got the trainer cards and discarded your hand.
But I
Another
mean, there's
Oh, go
been
ahead.
yeah, another deck that's popped up a little bit has been Ancient Box of the one prize options. This is one that can withstand a Curum board wipe, right? Because
Yep.
it's got more HP than Curum does. The 140 of the Roaring Moon.
I wonder if they could still do it though, right? Can't they like Dragapult spread and then Kieran board wipe you?
Potentially, you do have the Ancient Booster energy
That's
capsules as
true.
well to help you out.
It is scary though that they could still do it. Or if you like overbench, they could double Kieran you. They could go like
Curum,
if you
Curum.
like put yeah, if you put like 4 Roaring Moon in play and a Greninja, like, all right, Kieran 110 to everything, and you're like, "Oh, no."
You don't know what any of these cards do.
What?
It's
Oh, 110 to
1 3
3.
things.
Same difference. We hit the important ones.
Are you playing in a tournament sometime soon where, like, these cards will be legal?
Yeah, that's fine, though. Dude, why did I think it was 110 to everything? What is it? What card am I thinking of? It had to be this, though. Yeah, only 3. Sorry,
Only
we'll hit him hard enough. But yeah, Dragon Ball attack into this still seems pretty deadly, to be honest, in that matchup. Because you can put, like, 30 on 2 Roaring Moons, or, like, 20 on a Greninja, 30 on a Roaring Moon.
yeah.
Or, like everyone loves, just play the Noivern, and you just beat him.
There was a 194 person event that happened. Charizard was able to win that one.
It seems
If
to
there's
be
no
kinda
Dragapult in the formats, Charizard seems, that's one of the big in the previous format was one of the big problems for Charizard was the Dragapult. And I
I
think Charizard at first glance is the best user of Dusknoir, which is one of the strongest cards from the new set. Also a great user of the Pheasantipity, right?
yeah.
Um, but
I think
yeah,
everything's a good user of Pheasantipity, but Charizard, like, has the bench space to, like you have a lot of bench space to work with where you can give up a spot to Pheasantipity pretty easily.
right. If you're
Um,
not playing Bibarel,
yeah, but I think Charizard's got new problems. I think Regidrago's a problem. I think that's an unfavorable matchup.
yeah, I think so.
And then Regiball with Dusknoir. That's a problem as well.
Bro, stop trying to make Raging Bolt with Dusknoir a thing.
Your Lugia matchup has always been fine, but, like, that's, like, another thing as well. It's like, you're already trying to, like, fit the Dusknoir lining here. You don't have B-Barrel anymore. I guess you have Pheasantipity, but it's, like, a 2-prize liability. We see this list has Temple of Sinnoh. It's like, are we teching for Lugia still? Like, it feels kinda bad to tech for Lugia, you know? But it almost feels like it might be a necessity.
And
Um,
it's interesting it's not the enhanced hammer, it is the Temple of Sinnoh.
I guess maybe you just want the extra stadium bump against, like, Raging Bolt, get rid of stops. Could be the reason.
Yeah, and also you can Iono plus Sinnoh, you can't Arven for enhanced hammer plus Iono.
Yeah. Also, that neutralization zone, we gotta have an answer for that.
Hey,
It's out there.
there's no lost vacuum in this list. I guess it's a card that you don't really
Oh,
need that much in
true.
Charizard right now.
Yeah. I feel like there was actually, like, maybe even last format, you just didn't need to play Lost Vacuum, to be honest.
Yeah,
Kind of a
probably not.
mid
You
card.
might have needed it for Gardevoir because if they know you don't
Oh,
play it,
true.
it might
Oh, that's
be
true, that's true. And everyone
yeah,
was on Bravery Charm. Now Gardevoir lists are getting different.
right.
I feel like most of them are still are Bravery Charm, but some people are doing, like, the Devo stuff and just, like, spread, kinda like the Henry Chow build from, uh, where were we? NAIC.
Yeah.
And more people are on the aromas as well. There's the aroma in here.
Yeah, the aroma's been popping up quite a bit.
Oh, that hill though, the
Basically no one
Moonlit
with the
Hill.
Greninja.
Yeah, I've been seeing more people I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like
I think
Greninja's I feel
most
like
everyone has cut Greninja, dude. Like, it's not a common card in
yeah,
lists
it's
anymore.
it's just so good against Regidrago because they so aggressively go after your Kirlias. They leave you with, like, no draw power in play.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like the Greninja's still really, really good in the deck. I don't know.
Yeah, in this
What do we got?
specific event, 42% Greninja,
What are we doing here? Where's Tatsugiri at? Only oof. Yikes.
8% Tatsugiri.
What happened? Tatsu. Another deck that I've actually been thinking about recently is we're going to all these, like, 2 prize big decks. I mean, that's where a Lawsome decks sometimes love to be, specifically like Sablezard.
Yeah, but what's the
Um,
answer for Kyurem?
2 Manaphy.
Yeah,
Hit him
is
with
that
it.
gonna be it?
Yeah, I think you have to play 2 Manaphy. I actually think there could be something with Sablezard for sure, 'cause, you're running good matchups into a lot of these decks. The only one that's iffy is, like, the Lugia. You know, they get the Legacy on the hands, or Legacy in general is a little bit annoying, but if you can,
You could play Temple.
yeah, play Temple or Enhanced Hammer or something, I don't know. You can figure it out, I think, for sure, for that matchup. Yeah, like, even just, like, 2 temples, because you can be aggressive with your stadiums in that matchup. Lugia doesn't go through their deck that aggressively, so you can, like, if they, like even if they don't put a stadium down immediately, you can just, like, throw a temple out immediately, and then sometimes that just, like, slows them down completely. So I think there could be something there as well. And then, like, for, like, the Dragapult is still, like, something you have to deal with in that matchup as well, like, but you can play, Monkey Doors, of course. In the Regidrago matchup, they still attack it with Dragapult, which puts a lot of pressure on, but Monkey Dory can heal some of that back.
Going back to the, Doom World Championships on day 1, we I think kind of mentioned it, but there was a ton of Snorlax up at the
Yeah.
top. 5 Snorlax in the top 10 decks. Where do we think Snorlax and Stall and Control, all these things, where do they sit heading into Worlds?
I mean, control doesn't seem that good, but I think stall is pretty good, and I think it will be pretty successful. Like, it's definitely a deck that I think I want to be able to beat going into worlds. I want to be able to beat stall.
Speaking
Um,
of cards, talking about things earlier, like of the new set, 06 Machinations. This card, I think, is a little slept on right now. Like, I could see this being just good in aggressive decks, like Charizard, or I guess Charizard's not really an aggressive deck, but like attacking decks, like
it's just too hard to find consistently. Like, it's consistently in opening turns. There's just too much you need to do.
you don't
Other
even
things
need
you
it
need
in
to do.
opening turn. Dude, like think about your games with the Raging Bolt and Regidrago decks. Like you're building up massive hand sizes. You just lose so much to a Xerosic, even though you get to choose which 3 cards to keep, right? You
I
just
don't know.
lose so many things.
I've been Zerosec a couple times with those decks, and it's just like, okay, you can
Hasn't
always
felt
piece it
bad.
together. I mean, one thing about like Raging Bolt specifically, the deck has more than enough resources to close out games. It's just finding them that matters. You have like I had one game today where I discarded like 3 energy retrieval turn 1, and I just still won. I still had enough energy to draw 6 prize cards over 3 turns.
Night
Um,
Stretcher making the difference, huh?
yeah, like Raging Bolt specifically like has excess resources to close out games almost every single. You almost never run out of resources. It's just finding the resources is sometimes the why you lose to an Iono. But you're never like, oh well, I can't take any more knockouts. That like rarely, if ever, happens. Um, Yeah, Zerosic, I don't know. I could theoretically see Zerosic being pretty good in, like, I don't know, if, like, Gardevoir mirrors were super popular, then maybe you could, like, sneak a Zerosic in and then, like, if, like, the slower decks, the Gardevoirs and the Charizards are sitting there and building up these big hands against each
Yeah,
other.
Gardevoir seems like a deck that could use this card
But I think
decently.
I think decks are just, like, too fast right now, and it doesn't have a big enough impact. Like, you are making them discard probably some cards they wish they could keep, but it's not enough to actually make them run out of resources before the game's over. Seems to
Sure,
be the way
sure.
it goes. But yeah, Stall, I think Stall, I think is gonna be pretty successful at Worlds. It's gonna be not super popular, but it never really is super popular, but it is always pretty successful. And I think beating it's definitely gonna be something uh you want to be able to like at least have a 50-50. Or that's what I'm kind of thinking about right now. So I want to
It's
at
just
least be
got
able
so
to
many
beat it.
tools right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd
The
maybe cut
flutes, the Eries.
wouldn't play Crushing Hammers, but yeah, I mean I wouldn't even say it's got two like the flutes are just it's just such a stupid card. I hate the flute. I hate that card so much. It's just such a dumb card.
The, rescue stretcher, the night stretcher is kind of a nice little addition to this deck.
Yeah. Like being able to really aggressively recover your Ogre Pawn or your Mimikyu and stuff like that seems actually like really, really good. And the Night Stretcher is pretty cool for sure. It seems yeah, well, this list specifically doesn't play basic energy, so I feel like it's always better than Super Rod, right?
Right, right.
You only ever need like 6 Snorlax, maybe. 2 Ogre Pawn is usually enough, but hey, you can get a third back pretty aggressively. And then same thing with the Mimikyu. The Mimikyu go down, boom, Night Treasure, it's back. You don't need a combination of like Super Rod plus a Nest Ball, Super Rod plus Artisan or anything like that. But yeah, the Stretcher is definitely a cool addition now. Man, no one's playing energy in here anymore. No
Yeah,
Chi-Yu. The Mantine hasn't been a thing for a while, I feel like. 3 Flute! 3 Flute!
gotta have 4
Nah.
flute.
Yeah, what
Dude,
is
they're
going on?
25 dude, Snorlax was the 5th most popular deck
Oh,
at
sheesh.
this
Well, it was
tournament.
like tied in the sevens, right?
What's that?
7%. It was basically tied in the sevens with Raging Bolt and Lugia at 7%.
Sure, sure.
But it was up there. Yeah. I don't but once again with like online tournaments though, I say this a lot. I think this is true. Like the meta for online tournaments is pretty different than major tournaments.
Yeah.
Um what is actually good is still about the same, but the actual meta, like something could be like 20% in an online tournament and it'll be like 10% at a major or
The
less.
real thing to do for these events is if you wanna see, like, the spicy stuff, is go into the standings and then go find the people who went, like, 3-0 or, like, 301 drop from the tournaments,
What? Because they were like 3-0 and they're like, "Oh, the deck's broken. Quick, hide it."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly, dude, 3-1 drop, this guy
"Alright,
does
what is
not
it?"
want the Regidrago list out there.
What do they got? What do they got?
Vanilla Regidrago.
Nothing. Hey, focus, stop.
They
Oh,
got the leaves, they got the leaves.
they know, they know. Well, that's actually something that no one's adopted the Iron Leaves. I was actually surprised. I think it's broken still, but
Does seem good.
yeah.
I
Maybe I was
like it.
overselling it. Maybe when I was watching Yoshi
Bro,
utilize it in the
Luke
tournaments or
Morosa, we're on to you, buddy.
Oh,
3-1 drop with your Gardevoir deck.
what does he have in there?
Oh, man, he thought he could hide it.
What the enhanced hammer, I knew it. No, it's the fact that there's no Greninja. I can't let the people know about the no Greninja.
So true.
This is pretty vanilla. Nothing crazy.
But yeah, any other decks, Azul, that you think we should talk about that we haven't yet?
I mean, you brought up Ancient Box, actually. I think there is Ancient Box is actually yeah, like, the way it price trades into a lot of the matchups is pretty interesting. I think it has a harder time against Lugia than
The Petrunt is the tech to beat Snorlax.
yeah, you got the Petron now. Like, you can just I think without Petron, it's always felt like a bad matchup,
Also, like, if you're playing
but,
Charizard and you wanna beat Stall, you can play Petrunt, right?
yeah, I think Petron it might get there. I'm actually not 100% sure because you still have to deal with Mimikyu, right?
Sure.
But I don't think but people aren't doing, like, what, um, me and the squad did at Stockholm. Like, people don't even have Assault Vests anymore. So,
Yeah,
like, if you have something in the active if you have Mimikyu in
Defiance
the
Vest.
active, they can just retreat into Charmeleon and swing with Charmeleon. You don't have the Defiance Vest. But I guess the thing is, like, flutes, man. Like, the flutes are just so dumb. Like, they're just gonna get you with the flute. Like, they're gonna catch something and it doesn't even
Yeah,
matter.
but if you have Petrunt and a
Oh,
Charizard
true.
EX in play, right, it just doesn't matter.
That's true. So you have to have Mimikyu in the active and just bring the Charizard up over and over. So they have to hard retreat the Charizard. Maybe it works out. Play the Morpeko. Play the full package. The Petron Morpeko with the free retreat. Get your
Could
Charmeleon and
Charizard play
Charizard.
some basic dark type Pokemon to KO the Mimikyu that attacks for colorless?
I don't think there is anything. The new Absol requires like 3 dark energy in play.
It does, yeah.
Oh, another thing that like is worth trying out in this deck as well. Like there's a Petron, but also Night Stretcher seems pretty good in Ancient Box, to be honest.
I
Another
can
thing
see it for sure.
to give a try. I don't know. Definitely worth it. But yeah, Ancient Box seems okay. Maybe need a tech for the Lugia matchup though, honestly. The Lugia matchup is like close. The legacy energy just makes it really hard to the prize on the prize trade. Especially if
But
they have
yeah,
the rats as well. They got a lot of low HP Pokemon.
so like we said, we will be putting out a Q&A over on Twitter for the World Championship. So if you're competing at Worlds, or even if you're just like a fan or whatever, and uh, want to have some questions about Worlds, the Worlds format, the game, where things are at. If you got a League Cup or League Challenge, whatever it is, you want to ask us some questions. Will be that's what the bulk of next week's episode is going to be, and it will be coming out Monday, like I said. The bulk of next week's episode is going to be answering Q&A about Worlds.
Yep. Plan for next week. And yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to talk about as far as the format goes. Chip, do you have anything else you want to point out or?
I don't think so. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone showing their support and listening as always. If you do enjoy, be sure to leave us a like, review, rating, comment, subscribe. All those things help us out a bunch. Be sure to keep your eye out for the new Uncommon Energy video coming out this Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. It's been a long time coming, but yeah, be excited. And yeah, and we'll be seeing you guys at Worlds very, very soon. If you want to stay up to date with us, the best place to do it is over on X. You can follow myself at Chipperchi, Azul at Azul_GG, and you can follow the podcast at Uncommon_Energy.
Appreciate the support as always. Catch y'all next week, Monday at I assume 7 a.m. Eastern is still when we're gonna upload it, but
Yeah, Monday, 7 a.m.
yeah.
Eastern.
And yeah. Safe travels to anyone going to Hawaii between now and then. Have a good one.